you mentioned it. It's election year. Like, I can sign up to the Loop. That's one way to stay informed. What else can I do to be involved?
Money.
Wow, Brian, that was an odd, quick response.
Yeah, what's that saying? The answer's money. Now, what's your question?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, right. So how big's the army? We did that. Now we just need the money.
Oh yeah, Beatitudes. Happy New Year.
Haha.
Oh my goodness, welcome to 2024, Beatitudes Nation. I don't even care if you're listening to this way in the future. Today, when we recorded this, was not 2024, but it is for you right now if you're listening.
The day of the release of this episode.
I can't believe. No, I stayed up too late last night. Celebrating the new year.
Yeah.
Rocking it.
Oh, we're here in studio early for you,
Can't believe we
Beatitudes.
pulled it off.
If this is your first time to the Beatitudes, this is a show for Christian men looking to go through this walk in their holiness, to grow with the Lord as they actually join with one another in authentic fraternity, and never forgetting that in that joy we have humor and holiness together, or what they call humorness.
Yep.
And we have been doing this show since last March, and we are so blessed to have great guests coming. But first of all, I want to introduce all the Beatitudes. To the far end of the table, we have Nicholas Besner
That's me. I'm Nick.
and Paul Kolker.
Yes, hello. Happy to be here.
Happy New Year, Paul.
Thank you.
And my name is Jeff Scheffelbein, and we are just blessed to be here and be a part of this. And truly, a new year is a chance for new opportunities to build crazy podcasts. So we are lucky today to have Brian Burch with us from CatholicVote. Welcome to the tiny table.
The tiny table is very warm, but it's perfect for a cool January morning.
Yeah, for this. So great of you to join us to start your new year. Like, this is released at like 4 a.m. Central, so thank you so much. Did you ever expect to be at a table this small with 3 grown men?
It makes me a little comfortable being a traditionalist Catholic. No, I'm just kidding. It's really good to be here. Really good to be in Dallas, especially since I live up in Chicago.
Yeah.
So who doesn't want to be in Dallas or Phoenix or Florida in January? So great to be here. It's a sunny day, and good Catholic men. We're going to talk some politics, faith, all the things we're not supposed to talk about.
Yeah. Let's just mix them into one
Bring it on.
podcast.
Rebrand as just taboo
Yes.
podcast.
Well, can you throw in quarantine? Let's throw in some.
Oh, no.
QAnon, COVID.
Yeah. We're going to put a white rabbit up there behind you. Okay, as we were saying, Brian is here from the great nation of Chicago. Glad to have him here. Brian, can you just back up for a second really quick? CatholicVote. That's not just about voting, right? There's a lot going on in this CatholicVote. What is CatholicVote?
Well, CatholicVote is a advocacy organization, and we help lay people use their faith and bring the vision of the Catholic Church into the public square. So sometimes that involves elections, it can involve courts, it can involve Congress, it can involve all sorts of ways in which our faith intersects with the public life of this country. And we as Catholics obviously have a specific responsibility when it comes to the American public life. We don't just lean on our bishops and priests and say, that's your job, we're just going to go make money and do our thing, and you guys fix the problems.
Wait, is that a news flash for some people listening?
It is. Hit us up in the comments if that's a light bulb moment.
Well, I mean, it is true. We live in we belong to a hierarchical church, so we do kind of defer to the leadership of the church for lots of things.
Sure.
But when it comes to things that, the playing out of the faith in the particulars of our life, especially when it comes to political things that involve, difficult questions, involve prudence and doing lay things, that's especially our responsibility. And this is something that Vatican II, I think, really emphasized. And we often think of politics as divisive and difficult. And, the truth of it is it can be really fun. And that's the work that we started, that you can bang your head against the wall, you get frustrated, you lose elections, you think the country's going to hell, and then the next day you wake up and you say, you know what? There's no better time to be a Catholic. The greater the challenge, the greater the adventure, and that's kind of the way I think about the work that we're doing.
Well, that's weird because often I look around and I say, where are we going and why am I in a handbasket?
Yeah, well, handbasket, handmaiden, there's a lot of different slogans tossed around. Politics can be frustrating, creates a lot of anxiety for a lot of people. I'm sure some of your listeners, they went through 2020, we went through presidential cycle, it's all politics all the time. Now we're 2024, welcome, another presidential year here. People are probably thinking, oh my gosh, not another one. And it's not going to be an easy one, of course. But there's ways to think about doing this work as a Catholic where you realize, our kingdom God's kingdom is not of this world, as he told us, Christ told us, and yet we very much need to make this world a place that is preparing, as we just did in Advent, preparing for the second coming. And politics is a part of doing that as well.
Yeah, when you talk about all this different stuff around making sure that we have proper representation in D.C., making sure on local levels that we're putting people in place so that they can understand the real votes that are being made, right? That what's behind that vote that you're making. Catholic vote sounds like it could be called Catholic culture. Like, how do we impact the culture? And this just happens to be the mechanism or the focal point is the vote part of that.
Yeah. So there's this fun debate that people have, is politics downstream of culture? And that used to be something that a lot of people used to say, in particular because of something St. John Paul II said is about economics and politics are not the primary drivers of history, but culture is this driver of history. And yet I think if John Paul II could have been asked, I think he probably would have agreed it's not necessarily a perfect stream. It's more like a swirling stream.
Like a both and kind of thing.
Exactly. And sometimes politics is driving culture, as we've seen in a lot of issues. And we got a redefinition of marriage. We got a legalization of abortion. We got prayer in school banned. We got all sorts of various things that have dictated to the culture, sometimes to a culture that wasn't ready for it. I mean, you think about, in the marriage fight, for example, 31 out of 33 states had voted to protect traditional marriage, and the court comes in and says, nope, all those laws are off the books. Now, of course, the culture is kind of moved in that direction. And so I think politics was upstream of the culture in some ways. But to your point, Catholic vote ultimately can't just be about something you do on election day every 2 or 4 years, right? If it's just that, it'll just open up our doors, we'll do our thing and then close, and then we'll say, see you next year or see you in 2 years.
I'll give you a sticker.
Yeah, exactly. I voted. I did it.
Post your election selfies. Yeah.
No, it's really, we used to say Catholic Vote 365 because to truly vote as a Catholic, an authentic Catholic, is to live your life in a way that is faithful, that is obedient, that is in communion with what it is we believe, which means, guess what? You vote with your life every day, with the choices you make every single day with how you want to live your faith.
Yeah, it's like you go back and you say, I vote with my dollars, I vote with my feet, I vote with, where I spend my time, my money.
Yeah, because if you vote as soon as that alarm clock goes off, or in my case, as I'm getting older, since I just wake up naturally. But it's because ultimately to vote as a Catholic, as an authentic Catholic, what you're saying is, I don't get to make it up. I'm actually going to subordinate my will and conform my choices to something that's not of me. That I don't. There's a truth that is bigger, that transcends me, that I am going to subscribe and live my life according to. Someone once said, if you want to understand the Declaration of Independence, it's really simple. There is a God, and you're not him. And if you get that right, those two things right, things kind of make sense. And then that's the case when it comes to voting as a Catholic. I don't get to make it up. There's certain truths that I have to live by, that I believe in, and I'm going to apply those as best I can to the choices I have, albeit imperfect, and do so in a way that is hopefully going to bring about some kind of, healthy renewal of our country, because our country needs help.
Yeah, there's great freedom in knowing that you don't have to come up with what the answer is, and you don't have to write the new rule book. Like, you can follow the one that is based on the literal truth of our humanity, and therefore you have the freedom to be fully human in that. And people misconstrue that when they're following, the magisterium is a pretty big word, but following any rule set, you think that that's onerous and restrictive. But I even think, like, a budget in your company is a place of freedom because now I know what I'm dealing with.
Right, right. No, it's absolutely true. There's something especially liberating about knowing, because we all know our internal weakness and limitations, that if it was just up to us, that's a pretty unstable world that you got to live in. I got to figure it all out, or maybe I'm going to rely upon, the book of nature, the book of the Bible, and 2,000 years of wisdom and thinking of people much smarter than me that have spent literally their entire lifetime meditating upon really complex, difficult things and have helped, lay this all out for us to help guide it. And to pretend that somehow we get to now figure it all out fresh and new for the first time in history right now and that we're going to get it right is just utter foolishness.
Well, yeah, it's like we just don't even have the time, the lifetime, I mean, much less the time in the day, but the amount of time that I personally, Paul, could spend trying to figure out each of these problems compared to the wealth of lifetimes that have been lived and dedicated towards solving these problems. Why would I not listen to that?
Can I jump on that with you, Paul?
Yeah.
When I think of Catholic Vote 365, my brain thinks only 365 years? That's all we're aiming for here?
Yeah.
But our decisions have legacy impact, right?
yeah,
The culture has legacy impact. I wrote about this recently. My parents, through all the genealogy stuff, found a book about my 9X great-grandmother. There has to be some 4,000 people that are on your 9X level for you to exist. So you think about the legacy. And she was born in 1610. So you're talking 400 years of legacy of people having to make it through. So when people are afraid of a political climate and of a climate and all these things that create this paralysis, I can promise you some of those thousands of people that had to come before me for me to be talking to you right now went through bad stuff, were in bad neighborhoods and bad political climates. Some of them were probably bad people. They probably did bad things. But that legacy of mindset is, I think the culture that you're infusing and the people that you're hitting with Catholic Vote is a very, very long-term, to your point, Paul, past my lifetime building mentality. Mm-hmm. That's a spiritual battle, though. How do you keep your team and yourself from just being great at business? Like, how do you stay on the spiritual side of this?
It's the same thing I would guess for secular business as well, is that you can't do the work that we're doing unless you're committed to personal excellence from the start. The church talks about that, supernatural virtue is built upon the natural virtues. And so we don't become saints by some, magic wand waving of the Holy Spirit. Become saints by working on the natural virtues of working hard, of getting better, of being a good father or a leader, developing those habits of excellence that build virtue. And God infuses us when we seek Him out through that with His grace, obviously through His sacraments and through His church. And so I think for us, one of the most important things with Catholic Vote, especially since we're involved in a very messy, rotten, industry called politics, sometimes rotten, sometimes redeeming, it can be both ways,
sure,
is that you have to steel yourself for the messiness of it. And I guess that's the case for lots of different businesses, but some, are relatively tame. But you have to understand that there's, because of the influence and the power of politics, that at root this is really a spiritual war. Mm-hmm. And we can try to pretend these play actors that run for president or senator, Congress or mayor, that they're ultimately the power brokers. It's not. There is a spiritual war underway in everything that we do, and certainly that's the case when it comes to political things. And you have to steel yourself spiritually, and that means steeling yourself with those natural virtues that are going to enable God to use you most effectively.
Well, so then, okay, so you talked about, how do we live our Catholic life in how we vote and in how we show up in the political world? What do you say to kind of the common American response of separation of church and state? Like, what? I mean, what are some of maybe the objections you hear there, and how do y'all speak back into that?
Yeah. So, I mean, number one, those words don't appear anywhere in our laws or in a constitution, by the way.
Touché.
So that's one helpful way. In fact, where they were used, it actually was intended to mean the opposite thing. Like, I'm in favor of separation of church and state. Get the government out of our churches, which right now they're spying on with the FBI. But the second piece of it would be, when it comes to political things, especially for the church, this is not some sectarian thing where we're trying to make the Immaculate Conception a national holiday. The truths that we believe as Catholics are rooted in the reality of what is. They're rooted in the truth about the human person. These are universal. These are the very things that our declaration referenced are the very things that we believe as Catholics. And we believe, when we believe they're universal, that means we believe they're good for everybody. They've been true for all time and will be true no matter what we say or do for the rest of time, because they are built into reality. They're built into the order of creation that God made. And so when we talk about separation of church and state, I say, fine, keep government out of religion. Let's actually respect the First Amendment that says we have a right to the free exercise of religion, and we have a right that government can't establish a national church, which, last I checked, they're not looking to do anytime soon. So we're talking really about the right to exercise our religion freely, free of government coercion, and that when we do so as Catholics, we're doing so in a way that doesn't seek to impose some national Catholic, faith for everybody. Everyone can freely choose to embrace it or not. But what we're ultimately doing is not some sectarian work. We're trying to convert people to the truths about what is.
And I love that you said that they're universal, and then, of course, the Greek word for universal, Catholic. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Etymology lesson here.
Yeah, it's fun. Fun how that works.
He's full of it. I said it. I don't mean it like that.
Well, no, that's also true.
all of it.
Double meaning.
Yeah. That we're not establishing a national church. Sometimes it feels like with ideology pushing that there is an establishment of a national church. And maybe I'm not wanting to open up that box here on this fun show.
Fun can of worms.
Yeah. Maybe we go to our game right now.
Before that, and we're not going to answer my question. That was just to make you all think about this for a minute. It was rhetorical and ridiculous. So, not ridiculous. So here's my question for you. What was that face?
I don't know.
So, for people listening, there are several parts to Catholic Vote. I'd love for you to just explain, like, what are the pillars? And I've heard you talk about the 501c3. You've also talked about the 501c4, which just sounds a little bit better than the 3.
Sounds explosive.
C4.
C4. It's very explosive. Yeah, that's great. I'm going to use that now.
Okay. Yeah. You're welcome.
Well,
No.
it's actually really boring IRS designations.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Which for people that want to know, a donation to one is deductible, a donation to another is not. No, what really Catholic Vote,
donations to the Beatitudes are not deductible, but still accepted.
Correct.
Yep.
In large amounts.
501, see you at the cash register. Thank you very much.
I don't know. Is that a IRS category?
We're petitioning for it.
Yeah.
365 days a year.
Yeah, it's a 501cu. Yep.
That's it.
No, so Catholic Vote is broken into a couple different pieces that are governed by several different entities that all coordinate with each other, in part because the IRS says if you're going to take donations here, you can only use it for this purpose.
Yeah.
If you take donations here, you can only use it for this purpose. But the way we set it up was we wanted Catholics to be able to spend their money with us in partnership to do anything the church needed from a lay perspective when it comes to American public life. So endorsing candidates, obviously a priest or bishop or the church officially or the USCCB is not going to do that. Helping elect candidates. So when you do what are called independent expenditures, where you spend money saying advocating elect or defeat, which is a category the IRS uses, you have to use the right entity to do that. And we actually do that. We say, in our judgment, Catholics should support X for president or Y for president, or oppose X for Senate or Y for Senate. So we announce endorsements every year. We pick races to get involved in. We pick races that we think Catholics can have an outsized impact, and we work on the ground outside of church property. We don't go into churches and do politics, but there's a lot of things you can do with mobile phones these days to mobilize Catholics to both understand the issues involved, understand the candidates involved, and then, of course, vote. And a big part of what we do is try to turn out mass attending Catholics. Because for those that follow the Catholic Vote, we're a big, messy, diverse group of here comes everyone, as has been written. Nancy Pelosi, Clarence Thomas, Joe Biden, Kellyanne Conway, Steve Bannon, all call themselves Catholic, and that's a pretty broad spectrum when it comes politically. So we have a political group, a political operation. We're on the ground, and we'll be on the ground in at least 5 or 6 swing states next year, mobilizing Catholics by parish. We have a big media operation called The Loop. Many of the listeners may get this.
Yes.
Yes.
It's a morning email, which is kind of a summary of the biggest political news happening, national news, things happening in the church, a little catechetical lesson, something inspirational, sometimes something funny. That is going to take on a whole new form in the coming year. So stay tuned for that.
Brian, I open it every day. Like, it's that good. It's not like it's The Loop today. I read it yesterday. I open it every day.
Yeah.
It's my news source.
And if you're not in it, you want to be in the loop.
And press pause and subscribe.
Yeah.
To both us and The Loop.
That's The Loop. CatholicVote.org/The Loop, I believe, is where you subscribe, or it's right on the homepage there. But yeah, over 600,000 Catholics are reading this every morning. And we're adding about 25,000 new subscribers every month. So it's really huge and really helpful to us to know, and we have a big campaign underway to get to 1 million. I think we can get there soon. And to be able to talk to, influence, and ultimately mobilize 1 million people, 1 million Catholics in their communities, given their networks, means we can have some influence. And ultimately, when it comes to politics, there's only two things that ultimately matter. Let's be frank. How much money do you have, or how big is your army? And I don't have the kinds of money that some of our opponents have on the other side, but I can build a big army, and we can leverage that very effectively and compete even without the checkbooks that some of our friends on the other side have.
We always throw out different ideas here. Some of them are great. I want to throw out to you...
Nice little preamble there.
Some of them sound like this.
When in the course of human events, we have ideas. Some of them are
Some
good.
of them are great.
It was you guys that came up with the new Coke?
That was it. Didn't that fail?
Yeah. We also rebranded the Beatitudes, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
Okay.
By the way, that's a great name.
Well,
thank you.
It is a really great name. We agree with you. And it's very hard to see the other word that's the one that is generally accepted in the world. But my pitch to you is Catholic Vote, appealing to the masses. It's got a double meaning here,
I love it.
Mm-hmm.
right? Because we're going, and you can put any twist you want on this, but I just want you to think about that one, okay? All right, while you're thinking about that one, with that judgy thing that you just did, that smack, let's keep judging. We're going to do something special here.
This is a game called Blessed Are the Joke Makers, for they shall inherit the points. Ooh, did not think about a point total here. What are we thinking?
600,000.
Whoa.
How about 80, like the open rate?
Okay.
80%?
We
You
heard
ready?
that from
Yeah.
Kara.
So 80 points.
Yes,
80
80
points.
points.
So it's like a running tab. Is someone ahead?
We have a
Yeah.
super fan that keeps up with all of this named Christopher.
We won't say who's ahead.
Well, we don't want to bias anything.
Correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
One of us paid for classes.
What?
Comedy.
Comedy.
Okay, and the way this game is going to work is we've got a character card and the Catholic card game card, and we have to answer whatever the prompt is on the Catholic card game card as said character, however best we can get into that. And some of us really, really go method acting with this and get into it. So,
Donald Duck.
I did just do my Donald
Yeah,
Duck.
yeah.
It comes out
It comes
when
out.
I'm getting ready a
yeah.
little though.
and you get to decide who the winner is. There's no objective criteria. It is literally just who tickled your fancy, right? Like what was funny to you.
Points
So,
given to me are tax deductible.
Okay, so I'm the judge here. I'm getting
Yes.
this right.
You
I'm
You
the
gotta,
judge.
you gotta
so
wait for all three of us to finish and
Yeah,
then
yeah,
just
yeah.
lay it down.
Oh,
Okay,
I can't
so-
wait.
You gotta vote.
yes. So the
You're
character.
not judging. You're voting.
That's it. So the character card is stuck in the decade of your choice, which Jeff already is in one. So we're
Wow. You can't preempt me. I might be in the future now.
I'm sorry, stuck in the decade of your choice. Things Jesus never spoke about.
Man, it was so cool just running up and down the court earlier. But man, Jesus was talking about the throngs of his sandals. He just never talked about these Converse, man. These are just the sickest kicks. They help me run faster, jump higher, and shoot better.
We really had a great time when those cars first came out, but then all of a sudden there was dust all over the ground, and I'm running around Oklahoma trying to keep up with all my pigs and all my sheep, and there's dust is everywhere. And all I'm saying is Jesus never talked about how to keep up with your flock when there is a dust storm coming. It's a big bowl.
Jesus never talked about how I should be facilitating the votes of the masses when they ask me questions every day in the prompts because not enough prompt engineers exist with the GPT 5.1, and they are not quite capable of answering all of the questions that I have. Also, my programming was probably co-opted to endorse the state of current world affairs.
The morality machine speaks. What say you, big voting powerhouse, Brian Burch?
Oh boy, this is a tough one. I'm gonna have to go with Chat GPT to my right.
Oh, nice.
Great job, man. You came through. I wasn't even sure where your head was at when you show up with G.
Well, you took the 20s from me, 1920s. I was actually going to
you were
go
making
there.
fun of me. I knew where you were going to go. I played it
I
out
almost
a
was
little bit.
wondering, I was like, am I like living through what it's gonna be like in like a couple years? This is the voice we're gonna all hear all
That's
the
weird
time.
because I felt like it took you all the way back to the 30s and that you were really struggling to make ends meet in
The
Oklahoma.
2030s. I took him to the
Back to the future.
I know, but I felt like I saw you put on your knickers and get out there and start hoeing rows with me. But
This is gonna be the voice, by the way, when Catholic Vote is in the metaverse that
That's
everyone
it.
will hear.
Everyone, get out and vote.
for being our celebrity guest judge today, you're getting socks from Sockreligious. This is the San Damiano socks. And do you have these yet?
I don't, but you know what? I think some of my kids got some of these for Christmas.
All right. Well, you just got some for New Year's.
Those are really good. If you ever want to wear those to buy pizza, they're really good in a Cece's.
They're not Domino's.
Ah. I see what you did there.
I see what you did. Hey, before we go to commercial break, this is only the second time we've ever had a live audience member. So I just want to show, if you're watching on YouTube, that America has joined the crew. She's hiding in the corner, and she's very happy to be on video right now. But America is in here as a photographer / I think she's a meme maker now. You've been making memes lately? Meme, yes. I don't know what you're saying.
Good job, Jeff.
Good translating.
I was reading her lips. All right, we'll see y'all after the break. God bless.
The team at Aquinas Wealth Advisors believes that good values and good returns are not mutually exclusive. Using a tech-smart and morally sound approach, they provide investment alternatives that align with Catholic teachings without sacrificing returns. These days, faith-driven investors are finding it hard to know where their money is going. They have no visibility into what their dollars are supporting, but there's a better way. Thanks to the Faith and Finance Score from Aquinas Wealth Advisors, you can look into your current holdings to see what you're supporting and make a switch to an advisor that aligns with your values and gives power to your voice. Check out AquinasWealth.com today.
Hey y'all, this is Jeff Scheffelbein. When Nick and I set out to start our new company, Undivided Life, we were really concerned about how would we cover the healthcare needs of our growing families, and we were so excited to find a company that fit both our medical needs and our faith beliefs perfectly. It's called Solidarity Health Share. It is an ethical alternative to traditional health insurance. We're never part of sharing in the medical costs of anything that goes against the teachings of the Catholic Church, making it a great alternative for Catholics and Christians alike. Solidarity is very affordable, which is perfect for a large family or for a new and growing business like the one we've started. So visit joinsolidarity.com today so that you can get started with us.
Hi, it's Paul Kolker from the Beatitudes here, and I just wanted to share with you guys that I also, outside of the show, perform improv comedy on a regular basis with a group called Divine Comedy. So what we do is we come up with everything on the spot, so whether you're looking for faith-filled, fun, family-friendly comedy for your youth night, or whether you're looking for clean comedy for your corporate event, Divine Comedy can perform for your group and even get you in on the action. So if you'd like to hire us to come out and perform for your next event, check out DivineComedyImprov.com. Divine Comedy, an inferno of fun.
Welcome back, everybody. New Year's edition of the Beatitudes with Brian Burch from Catholic Vote.
Is your middle initial a B?
No, it is F as in Francis.
All right, keep
Francis? Well, Brian, we covered a little bit of ground there in the first segment, and I think across the board, you mentioned it. It's election year. Like, I can sign up to the Loop. That's one way to stay informed. What else can I do to be involved?
Money.
Wow, Brian, that was an odd, quick response.
Yeah, what's that saying? The answer's money. Now, what's your question?
Yeah,
Right.
Yeah, right. So how big's the army? We did that. Now we just need the money. No, it's funny because you get involved in elections and races and data and strategies. And one of the simplest things we always tell people is look around your church next time you go to Mass, hopefully every week on Sunday, and imagine this fact, that approximately 20% of the people in your church on Sunday are not regularly voting or are not registered to vote at all.
Wow.
And often we can get caught up in, well, I need to persuade Uncle Joe of the truth about this issue and why abortion is preeminent and why the family needs protection and the Constitution doesn't mention separation of church and state. And then you realize, well, that's going to take a lot of money to move that one vote and a lot of time when I have Uncle Mike right next door, sitting next to me, who didn't vote in the last election, who just needs a little prompt. And so the most fundamental thing you can do is to start talking to your social circle about the importance of voting and how large numbers of regular Mass-attending Catholics who generally vote, I would say, in a way that's consistent with Catholic social teaching, are not regularly voting. And so don't go for the low-hanging fruit. The people that you don't even need to talk to about issues. You just need to talk to them about the importance of their vote and why literally small numbers of people voting actually can make a huge difference when you're talking about 67 million Catholics.
And we're here in Texas where I think people just assume a vote's going to go a certain way, right? What would you say if you're not in a swing state? Like, why does that matter?
Well, it's not just president, it's not just Senate and Congress. Every election matters, and I know there's some stories here locally, even where you guys are, where little city councils have been taken over. And sometimes some of the most important policy questions are decided at the smallest level. My local library board, there's some hard-fought races for that, and we all know what's going on in some of these libraries these days. So there will be races that are close that matter, even when you're not in a technically swing state. And, let's not get carried away. Texas is still on the map for some people, and it shouldn't take anything for granted. But the other thing you can do is sign up at CatholicVote as a volunteer, and we will give you lots of people to talk to in states where it will matter, where you can text and call and reach out to them and say, hi, I'm a Catholic in Chicago, and I know my vote doesn't matter. But your vote in Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia, North Carolina, Nevada is going to matter, and I'm hoping that I'm just calling to make sure you're planning to vote, because we're going to need you, and all of us Catholics up here in Chicago are relying on you and need you to vote and want to ask you to make a commitment to vote. And that's a very important piece, by the way, is to formally ask people to commit to you to do so, because the data shows that when people actually make a commitment out loud to someone, they're like, I forget what it is, like 10 times more likely to actually follow through. There's a reason why we utter our marital vows out loud.
So you're
much more likely to follow through.
I think
so you're
that I do.
so you're proposing to the voters.
Yeah, in some ways, I suppose, as long as they're willing to pledge their vote for life.
Wow. Oh, yeah. Okay.
There we go. And I think that I'm only half joking when I say this. What a great thing it would be if we signed up that the Beatitudes was a volunteer for these calls, because we just plug straight into our machine here. And we just did a best of. You just bleep out a name or whatever, and then you just go, and we could have some. I think we get a lot of viewers in the new
have
year.
some fun with that. Yeah.
You know what? We could definitely do this.
I'm not joking, because we plug the phone in here and call people already. If you did an every Wednesday we release like a 6-minute short of us.
Oh my God!
There's
Both the good and the what
Yeah.
just happened, and then we tell
Yeah.
people, well, if you're not going to vote, at least judge us on a game.
Yeah, right.
My name's Ethel in Muncie, Indiana. What are you calling about?
Pretty sure Indiana won't be a swing state, but you might find some interesting people in Georgia,
In the U.S.
North Carolina, rural woods of North Carolina. Actually, North Carolina is interesting. People say the Catholic vote, it's tiny there. It's the South. Same thing in Georgia. Atlanta is one of the fastest growing dioceses in the United States. North Carolina has the largest parish in the United States.
Wow.
Massive. If there's such a thing as a Catholic megachurch, it's in North Carolina.
I feel like we're falling down at St. Anne and Coppell right now, guys.
Yeah.
I was just with Father Edwin a couple months ago when we filmed this thing.
Yeah.
And
He needs to step up his game.
he does.
He needs to like repaint the church or something.
That's right. Well, listen, we want to do a couple things. We're going to make some commitments at the end of the show. You know how that goes for New Year's. But let's start off with our TBD question. TBD is the Beata Dudes. We can do kind of initials. We're going to do our TBD question of the day. Play along at home. This one is pretty fascinating. We're looking back at 2023, and we want you to give, and each one of us will participate, what is your 2-word summation of the look back at last year at 2023? You're just going to say 2 words, but then you can also give the context and the details behind it. But what are your 2 words? And I'm hoping one of y'all will go first so I can process this question.
My 2 words are identity theft. Not because I took somebody's identity, but because I'm still dealing with the fallout from 2022 with whoever figured out all the right pieces to apply for like 7 or 8 different things. And some of it just happened in August of this last year, so it's an ongoing battle. But if I was going to put a more positive spin on it, it would be new beginnings, because I'll probably be applying for a new Social Security number. No, but we started this podcast. And
That's right.
Yeah, there's a lot of new things that happened this year. Getting to do some cool things like emceeing some events that I'd never done before. So, yeah, so a lot of even if some of them were smaller, some of them were bigger, there were a lot of new beginnings.
I know this wasn't part of the question, but I want 24 to be Paul Unleashed. That's what I want my
I
2
love
words
that.
to be. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That'd be
as,
awesome.
As your pro bono promoter, I'm on it.
Okay, perfect.
That sounds like a slang book of the Bible.
I love it. Nick, what do you got?
Yeah, I got challenge and growth kind of hand in hand, but a lot of new challenges. First time stepping out as an entrepreneur, doing more than one new thing, which has been a lot of fun, and growing in those arenas, different challenges, kind of force growth, which is always interesting and fun. I think it's that after you get to a certain level in a job or a career and it starts to feel maybe routine, that might be a signal of like, hey, what's the next challenge? Where's that next level of uncomfortability?
Yeah.
And move towards that. So it's been a lot of that this year.
Challenge and growth.
Yeah.
I love it. I'll let you go last there, Brian. Mine is joyful chaos. I have been starting on, podcast, other companies, other stuff. One of my wife's going to have a baby in a couple weeks here. And what's interesting is between all of these hospital visits, I mean, it's like just the spiritual warfare of just go to the hospital a ton with kids while you're trying to launch these businesses. We built our first website when I was sitting next to one of them in the bed, like that in the hospital, I mean. But it didn't take away joy. It was just chaotic joy. And I think there's something so cool about, like, I taught my kid the other day, he wants to play football, and I said, you got to learn that when you get knocked down or something hurts a lot, to laugh about it. And he goes like, what? And I said, like, if you get hit in the leg, be like, oh, and he was like, I can't do this. And I said, when you learn to do that, you'll find joy in the chaos.
Leg punch.
Yeah. But like,
Two
that's
other
kind of it. Like,
yeah.
oh, my second kid's going to the hospital. You're never going to believe this one.
What do you got next?
Yeah.
Bring it on.
I hope your 2 words for next year are restful peace.
Love it. Brian, what do you got for 23?
So I'm going to go with looking back, hopeful anxiousness. Part of it is I'm in this political thing and didn't exactly go the way we wanted this year. We had a couple setbacks. Obviously, November, the Ohio ballot loss. August, Ohio loss. We lost some other things. Pro-life movement is, retooling, as to use a business word, for going into the new year. We got 9, 10, maybe 11 ballot initiatives like Ohio. We anticipate that'll be on the ballot, where abortion groups are trying to maneuver post-Dobbs. I also feel like we're still kind of living in this like post-COVID era where we're just always kind of anxious, like something bad is going to happen maybe soon, and hopefully it's not the economy, or hopefully not another pandemic, or hopefully not something bad to the church. And, we have a really old president and a pope that is getting really old, and God forbid we have both of those events happen in this new year.
Yeah.
It would make it even more crazy, but I just feel like we're supposed to be hopeful as Catholics, but I can't help but not admit I'm kind of pretty anxious about the state of the world and what's going to happen and what might happen tomorrow.
That's powerful. I think it's honest. I bet a lot of people listening to this feel that too. It's like hopeful and anxious. And in there, you still have hope, but it doesn't take away the reality of like some of these days are pretty rough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's just a good, honest answer, too, because the hope is sometimes the choice in the midst of the feeling, just kind of the natural human feeling of anxiety, which is perfectly understandable with all the things going on these days.
Yeah, I mean, you have to kind of recalibrate all the time because the world, constantly, tries to shape the way you think about it. That this is it. This is all that matters. You need to adjust your choices based upon, instant gratification and paying attention to only the thing in front of you. And you have to, of course, this is why we have the gift of the sacraments and Mass, at least once a week where we're able to sit there and think about the big picture again and realize, okay, now I remember again, this is God's in charge. In the end, he wins. And it may get messy, but you have to have that spirit of surrender, knowing that come what may, God's in charge, and we know that because of that we can live with that hope. It's not just some blind, maybe it'll work out someday.
Yeah, it's not a vague optimism. It's a true trust that God has.
He assured us, by the way, the gates of hell will not prevail against the church. But the interesting thing about that is that means the gates of hell. Guess what that means?
We're supposed to be
on offense.
Yeah.
We're supposed to be pushing on the gates.
Yeah, storming the gates of hell.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so it that line I think of a lot when it seems like, oh gosh, it's everything seems to be going dark. The spiritual war of which we are a part as a part of the church militant is ongoing, and that there is this battle, and that we still are on the move in history because our Lord came and died for us and gave us the possibility of life with him. And so, I mean, if there's not something more hopeful than that, I don't know what there is, that all of this noise around us pales in comparison to this glorious truth that we believe that essentially is the central truth of all of history.
Yeah, so you're saying don't get distracted by the noise, or don't let the smoke and mirrors drown out the beauty of what's actually the central message.
But get distracted by your vote in November.
Right on.
Well, but yeah, let the central message lead you to vote in that way.
Absolutely. Situate all the political noise that's going to come in this year and all the anxiety that is going to be fed to you. Situate it in the context of that, and it'll be much easier to deal with, and you actually might be contagious in that joy because there's a lot of other people feeling that anxiety, and they're going to be looking for people that are stable and at least perceived to have the answers.
Right on. Well,
I was just going to add one thing, because it's especially, you mentioned all the noise and stuff and the distractions and things. So much of that, I think we get inundated and bombarded by various news medias from different ends of the spectrum, but also all the online social media stuff. And it's so easy to just be overwhelmed, I think, by the sheer amount of stuff you have to process. And I don't know, maybe this is something you've already kind of thought about, but I mean, it strikes me as like going philosophical here, as a Plato's allegory of the cave.
Oh, yeah.
Where instead of the people, who are trying to hold up things to project shadows, it's like, well, no, that's what the news is doing, or that's what, this social media is doing, or whatever. They're trying to like inform what our perspective, what our perception of the reality is, rather than what the true reality is. And then, of course, that reality grounded in the beauty of the mystery of Christ's redemption of us.
Yeah, so I love that. I'm, shameless plug, graduate of the University of Dallas, right down the street here, where I got to read the allegory of the cave. And spent a semester thinking about it. But, of course, that allegory, as you suggest, is talking about the ways in which there's people chained to the walls, and they're paying attention to these shadows that are being made by people on the other side of the wall that are using the light to depict images, and that the people that are chained to the walls, the only thing they ever see is the shadows. Mm-hmm. And so they never know the real. They never know what really is. And so you can apply that to a lot of different contexts. And obviously the goal is to get out, unchained from the wall and to go onto the other side to see what is making the images on the wall. But I think there's other ways to think about it too and apply it, the metaphor or allegory in some ways, which is we need to all get out of our own personal caves, get out of bed, get off the phone where you're paying, this mesmerizing reel of nonsense on some app, but also outside the cave of the kind of mundane parts that we and bad habits that we have, so that we can get to the real, get to the things that actually make our life meaningful again, and not just be satisfied with the shadows. Let's get to the meat of what that we were made to be, the humans we were created to be, and there's a lot to that, obviously, from an intellectual level, spiritual level, personal development. All of it involves getting out of our comfort zone and trying to work at becoming part of out of the cave, get out of the
cave
darkness.
and into the loop.
I love it.
And scene.
I love that.
Hey, we're reaching the masses.
Yeah. Man, it's like,
Listen, I don't know if everything's going to work out that I'm doing on the other side, so I'm actually applying for a job right now.
head of loop marketing.
Yeah.
There you go.
I love it. Hey, so it's the new year. We're going to finish off our show with our reverse Simpsons. Every Monday show is different than every other Monday show. It's kind of like The Simpsons, but reverse. And so we will, gosh, that's good. We're going to all give our New Year's resolution. You can have others that are private, but this is the one for the whole world to hear. I know mine, and it's, I think in listening to this, I love reading the loop every morning. What I miss is that after I finish doing Bible in a year, I have this void in my morning when I'm getting ready. I'm starting and going to do again the Father Mike Schmidt's Bible in a year, because it created this centering moment to my very first waking minutes, was to go through that before praying, reading, writing, and everything else. So that's me for 2024. Hold me accountable.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll jump in. I've said it, I think, on other episodes. It's a similar resolution, but I just want to be more intentional about it this next year. So when I was in seminary for a few years, we would, of course, be praying the office of readings and liturgy of the hours and all of that. So I want to just make sure I'm starting my day with at least morning prayer and doing that every day.
Got it.
Yeah.
Nick, where you at?
Yeah, I think there's a couple things in and around that realm. We did St. Michael's Lent in 2023. That was really good. I think for me, it's like doing Exodus 90 to start off the year. I know it's a 90-day of the year, but then to just keep it going.
I'll join you.
Yeah.
I mean, we're saying this in the future of today.
I think I also will.
Okay, we just jumped on your resolution.
That's fine. I mean, no, that's fine. I think it's because it's one of those commitments that you're not gonna. Well, you're gonna fall and fail, but you're also gonna pick back up, and you have a fraternity, and you have those brothers and anchors and whatever, you know.
It'll also help when we're making all those Catholic vote calls together as the Beatitudes. Hi, Deborah. This is the Beatitudes from Irving, Texas. We're Catholic.
Hi.
Hello.
Welcome to our show as well.
Can we broadcast this?
Would you like to play a game?
Yeah.
You are
You
now
get to judge
live.
us. Yeah.
Who are you planning to vote for?
Yeah, you get to vote right now with your points.
Yeah, vote now and later.
Yes.
Brian, New Year's resolution to take us out of here.
I'm going to say make a concerted effort to be more joyful. This year, as I suspect, if it's anything like the last presidential cycle, again, will be full of a lot of anxiety, a lot of mudslinging. In my business, it's often really easy to talk about how bad it is, how bad the other candidate is, and that's important. We have to tell the truth. But I go back to a line, my favorite line from Bishop Barron, who said, the surest sign that God is alive in you. Joy is the surest sign that God is alive in you. And I think at the end, you try to think about various strategies to persuade people of this issue and to vote and everything. I go back to the early Christians. Was it really the fascinating arguments they were making, or was it the way they lived and the joy that they had knowing that they had met the Savior? And I suspect that was the most contagious part, that they lived differently because they knew that Christ had come.
Yeah. Wow. All right, well, here's to a joyful 2024 and all of our resolutions. Stick around on Friday. We're going to be talking with Brian. We're going to dive into some family conversations. Brian's from CatholicVote. Check this out. If by Friday you haven't signed up for the loop, then we don't want you coming back.
No, but
I mean, wait. Until you do.
Get out of the cave and get in the loop.
there you
we're bringing
go.
it to the masses. Brian, we're going to see you at the polling site. For the rest of you, we will.
See you in the Eucharist.
Happy New Year.
Thanks for tuning in. If you'd like to join us at our undersized table, subscribe to the video version of the show on YouTube by typing @, that's the symbol @, so shift and 2 on your keyboard, @the_Beatitudes on YouTube. We'll see you there.
This podcast is part of the Spoke Street Network. For more great podcasts, visit spokestreet.com.